How's it going today, guys? Today I'd like to talk about an indie game known as Lost Soul Aside, and without any further delays, let's get right into it. As I'm sure many of you have heard already, this is a game that's being developed by one individual, and a lot of their inspiration for this game is coming from Final Fantasy. I mean, if you couldn't tell already, the main protagonist in the trailer kinda looks like Noctis from Final Fantasy 15, so I guess obvious hints like that will be seen as more information comes out, but I'm sure there's also going to be some more subtle hints when we actually get our hands on the game. I'd also assume that a lot of the environments and enemy designs are going to take heavy inspiration from Final Fantasy, but we have yet to see. Speaking of the environments, I think that there's going to be a lot of similarities to Final Fantasy 15, but I've also noticed that there are a little bit of similarities to Chaos Legion, and maybe you can argue that Dark Souls similarities in terms of environments are kind of there. And speaking of similarities between Lost Soul Aside and Chaos Legion, I'm going to talk a little bit about that because there was something that my friend Renegade Operative from the TCP brought up when he was making his Lost Soul Aside video. And before I go into that, why don't I just show you a clip of where he was actually talking about the similarities between Chaos Legion and Lost Soul Aside in terms of what we saw in the trailer.
He mentioned that Final Fantasy was one of his biggest influences in regards to how that game had a certain stylistic aspect, a certain art style that resonates with how Final Fantasy 15 coordinated itself and how that game in particular seemed to influence this with the look of some of the characters. Now, inspiration is never a bad thing, and I got a little hint of Chaos Legion in there. I don't know if that was intentional or not. I don't know if that's just me personally. I don't know, maybe you guys do agree, maybe you don't, maybe you share some of the same opinions, but you're sort of saying nah, you might be indifferent. But I feel like this game is mostly familiar with Chaos Legion. I played a little bit of that, and the way that the camera is centered, it looks sort of the same. It looks like they borrow some inspirations with the open world environment and how the free flowing combat looks akin to Chaos Legion, and I really enjoy that. You can jump, you can control dragon specters, you can do ridiculous combos with that in mind.
So really, I just want to add on to what Renegade was saying and point out some similarities that I noticed when watching the Lost Soul Aside trailer. Some of the similarities that I noticed were that with the dragon glass-like specter that follows the main protagonist around, it's kind of like a legion, like in Chaos Legion. In that game, you would have these things called legions, and you were able to have them go into different styles, so you can have them in attack, defensive, or archery styles, and there are a couple of other ones that I forget, but the point is that you can set them into different styles, and they would aid you in the combat. Here in Lost Soul Aside, it doesn't seem like your Dragon Spectre would actually help you out with the combat, but it does seem like it's going to help you out in terms of progression through the open world. So there's a part in the trailer where you form a set of wings from this Dragon Spectre and you're able to fly around the open world, so I think that's pretty cool. While it hasn't been shown in the gameplay trailer, it would have been pretty cool to see something similar to Chaos Legion where you can summon a different form and that form could maybe aid you in the combat. Not that it's needed, but I think it would be pretty cool to see something similar to Chaos Legion in that respect. Another similarity that I noticed was that some of the enemies seem to have these spikes for limbs. It's kind of like Chaos Legion as well, where a lot of the enemies seem to have been walking on spiky, claw-like limbs. So I think that's a pretty cool aspect, but I hope that that's not the only aspect we see in terms of enemy design. I hope that there's more variety than that. But that said, I do think that that's a little bit similar to Chaos Legion. The last similarity that I could point out as far as Chaos Legion and Lost Soul Aside have is that there's a part in the trailer where you see the protagonist and antagonist talking to each other, and the protagonist is questioning whether or not they should even be fighting in the first place. To me, it kind of seems like they have some history, and that kind of was like Chaos Legion, where the protagonist and antagonist have some bit of history, they know each other, and it just kind of leads into more problems within the story. So I think that's going to be interesting to see when the full game comes out, but I do think that that is somewhat similar to Chaos Legion as well, but that's just me. So the last thing that I really want to talk about is the gameplay that we saw in the trailer. I like what I see so far. I like the fact that it's a very fast-paced hack and slash game. That's really cool. I really like the fact that it's seems like it's taking inspiration from Ninja Gaiden, Metal Gear Rising, and maybe unintentionally the new and upcoming Nier Automata. So that's a really good thing. But I also hope that with this new game coming out, I hope that there's something new to offer within the hack and slash genre. I also hope that maybe that this game, because of the way that it's headed in terms of how visually it looks and just the fact that it's being developed by one person, that there's more liberties taken and just more risks taken with something like this game, and hopefully it pushes the boundaries for this genre. I don't know how to put this into words, really. I just would really want this game to be like outstanding, I guess, and just better than what most people would expect. I want it to exceed expectations, rather. So looking at that, I think that the best way to go about it is to not only just take inspiration, but also do something that those games like Ninja Gaiden, like Metal Gear Rising, Nier Automata, and so on and so forth don't do, and just kind of do something that would maybe set a standard for the genre. That's what I think should be done, and I hope that's done. So I'll end off on this. While we don't know much about Lost Soul Aside, I think it's best to keep an eye out on this title and see how it progresses over time, because I think that this game has the potential to be better than what most AAA games are out there in this day and age. I think that this game is going to set standards and potentially even kind of revitalize, if not jumpstart the hack and slash genre again, to where more developers are going to try to cater to that genre and that niche audience, which would be a good thing, because that would mean that we don't just see things like shooters and all this other generic crap that we just see over and over and over again. I think that seeing something like this, it's like Ren said in his own video, it's a breath of fresh air, not a brush. Ren, you're gonna kill me after you see this video, but that's beside the point. Yeah, I think that it's going to be a breath of fresh air, and it's just something that I really look forward to once we get more information and once we get to see how this game progresses its development and as it gets closer towards launch. But that said, I hope you all enjoyed, and if you don't already, you can follow me on Google+, Twitter, and on Twitch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.